Right, so today we're going to have a look at simplifying surds and some of the surds laws that will get you started. Obviously, you've seen a little bit about surds before on your homework sheets, but it's the proper first time that you will have done it formally. So firstly, let's just go through what a surd is. Basically, it's any number that contains a square root. So any of these things would be considered a surd. Okay, and they're really useful in maths because we've gone do lots of things with them, okay, to be really accurate and non-calculator work as well. So all of these sorts of questions would appear on the non-calculator exam paper, and in real life they're the most accurate way of displaying numbers. So for example, root 2, okay, is what we call an irrational number because it goes on forever. All right, so it doesn't actually terminate at any point, and we can then write it down in its exact form, which is root 2, as opposed to rounding it. Okay. Then what we need to be able to do is to simplify surds, and we do that by trying to break it down into different numbers. Okay, so if we have a look at root 48, what I'm looking for is the biggest square number that goes into root 48, and you always want to use the biggest one. You need to be really confident with your square numbers between 1 squared up to 15 squared. Okay, so from 1 to 225 on the non-calculator paper. So because 48 is quite big, we break it down to its factors. The biggest square number that goes into 48 is 16, okay, and it's 16 times 3 that makes that. We can then use our rule, which is our multiplying rule, which I'll go through with you in a minute, okay, to break it down. So the square root of 16 times 3 can be broken down into splitting it into two separate parts, so root 16 times root 3, and then you know that you can square root 16 and get an answer of 4, and we can just get rid of the multiply sign and we get 4 root 3 as our answer. Okay. You can do it in other ways, i.e. we could have used 4 times 12, but we would have to simplify further. So we want to make sure that we are always using the largest square number that actually goes into our starting number. Okay. I'll go through just a couple more of these with you. So if you've got root 18, okay, so our square root of 18 can be split into root 9 times root 2. Okay, the square root of 9 is the same as 3, so we end up as our answer as being 3 root 2. Okay, and if we look at the second one here, so I've got root 32. The biggest square number that goes into 32 is 16. Square root of 16 is 4. Okay, so I know it's going to have a 4 on the outside there, and 16 times 2 makes 32, so it would be 4 root 2, just to give you an idea of a couple of extras. We can then have a look at some of the rules then that we can use with surds. So the first one is root 4 times root 9. So root 4 is 2, root 9 is 3, 2 times 3 gives me 6. Okay, however, we know that square root of 36 would actually give me the same answer as that one, and that links to the actual question. Root 4 times root 9 is the square root of 4 times 9, which gives me root 36, which gives me an answer of 6. Sometimes it will come out with a nice answer like 6. Sometimes it will be still a surd, but in a simplified format. Okay, it may be useful for you to pop that rule in your book so you've got them for reference. The next rule that we would then have a look at is our division rule. So for example, the square root of 100 is 10. The square root of 25 is 5. 10 divided by 5, it gives me 2. But again, we can see where that comes from. Square root of 2, not square root of 2. 2 is equal to the square root of 4, okay, which links back again to our original question. So the square root of 100 over the square root of 25 can be written as the square root of 100 over 25. So you're putting it back into one square root, giving us the square root of 4, which is then 2. Okay, and again, you've got another rule there that you may want to pop in your books. And then the last one, which is the most common one that you might see, okay, is the square root of 49 squared. Square root of 49 is 7. Square it, 49. It ends up then being exactly the same answer. So it's a fairly obvious rule, but the square root of something squared is just itself.